Today's video is brought to you by the novel 9/10.
Alternative Media Television. More than 50,000 subscribers. 9.8 million YouTube views. 1 million last month. The #1 grassroots media organization. Our passion for liberty and truth is unmatched. AMTV contributor Topher Morrison.
Terror at 26 miles. Was it terrorism? No one has yet to come forward. No one has yet to claim responsibility. And the trail has gone cold. It was Patriots' Day in Massachusetts while the rest of America was filing taxes. Just before 2:50 as runners end the 116th annual Boston Marathon, a loud explosion rocks a highly crowded finish line on Boylston Street. It was the perfect target. Moments later, another bomb, west past Exeter, ripped through the crowd. Like the first, packed with ball bearings and other shrapnel, tearing the limbs off dozens, injuring over 170, 17 critically, and killing 3 others, including an 8-year-old boy. In both instances, people were stunned, froze, and many ran for their lives, but parents covered their young. Runners continued past the finish and on to the nearest hospital to give blood. Others cleared debris. Still more carried the wounded to safety. Heroes. Patriots. Meanwhile, somewhere, one, maybe more, reveled in the carnage. Coward. Perhaps conspirator. There was more death planned, but the third small and crudely made explosive, packed tightly in a backpack, was found before it could be remotely detonated. While a law enforcement official citing an intelligence briefing said cell phone service had been shut down Monday in the Boston area to prevent any potential remote detonations of explosives, major carriers denied there was a request to limit service. Later, 5 more explosives were found, a total of 7. And while many in the mainstream media speculated about a lone wolf, it was clearly, at this point, a logistical mountain to scale. Early analysis, if you could even call it that, rather idle speculation as anchors waited to be fed information from their correspondents, were called other April attacks. Oklahoma City, Waco, Texas, incidences far removed from metropolitan Boston, let alone the year of 2013. But anchors weren't the only ones drunk with wonder, as journalists and experts simply could not help pointing the finger. Nicholas Kristof of the New York Times, for example, led with a ham-fisted tweet, quote, "Explosion is a reminder the ATF needs a director. Shame on Republicans for blocking the appointment." If only the appointment went through, I'm sure it would have helped. Nearly every major news outlet, CNN, Fox, NBC, and CBS, mused over the Branch Davidians, Ted Kaczynski, and other homegrown starlets, as if in absence of suicide bombing, Islamic Jihad was immediately ruled out. While the mainstream media was grabbing at straws, the alternative media added its voice. Alex Jones caught the ire of Glenn Beck's The Blaze, David Weigel of the Slate magazine, and others after suggesting it wasn't Al-Qaeda, white or otherwise, but a possible government false flag. Alastair Stevenson, a University of Mobile, claimed drills preceded the attack, that crowds were told over a loudspeaker there was nothing to worry about. But according to Stevenson, he didn't believe they were just having a training exercise. They must have known. While Weigel makes a solid case for why conspiracy theorists will have a hard time with Boston, credibility isn't exactly on the government's side. The FBI quickly tainted the investigation by taking it over, an organization which over the last decade has manufactured and thwarted dozens of its own terrorist plots, if not all of them. It was called entrapment in the years prior to the last terrorist attack. It's now called protocol, after the Patriot Act. While a young Saudi national was reportedly in custody, at least initially, the Boston police commissioner denied it, but other factors, including the pressure cooker bombs used, and the fact that they were described in detail in Inspire magazine, a propaganda piece used to train young jihadists, and the fact that there was a search for a young, dark-skinned, or black, possibly foreign national, all pointed to possible ties with the Middle East and with domestic support. And it all fit the FBI's quintessential profile. However, in lieu of any arrest, there are still more questions than there are answers. What is clear is everyone may have been too quick to call it terrorism in the first place. Terrorism, after all, is predicated on the idea that the act of terror is aimed at resolving a political objective. No objective has yet been presented, regardless of attempts at gross politicization of constitutionalists and tax advocates. In its absence, people are running to place blame, of course. In any case, whether a false flag meant to propel a burgeoning police state, the reinvigoration of the violent left akin to Bill Ayers, or some disgruntled tax zealot, the US government is front and center. So why? While Americans' faces were glued to the screen, it is interesting to note that simultaneous bombings tore through Iraq, killing 36 and injuring 200, and Syria, still knee-deep in a bloody civil war of which Western intelligence services are intimately involved, continued their fight for the future of Damascus. Have we brought that terror home? We still don't know, but the tools to fight terror have been brought home from abroad. But even the rise of Boston and New York Times Square's surveillance grids and analytic software didn't protect us. So what will next year's Boston Marathon look like? Terrorism, again, if we are to call it that in this case, while relying on political ends, is born out of the ability to communicate terror. In fact, it has little precedent before mass communication. If we learned anything from the gun debate, it's that the media focuses all national attention on one issue. Our collective fear turns to rage, and then the powers to be hope to legislative resolve. But are we resolved enough to understand we can't always prevent this? Will DHS mobile interrogation units be the order of the day? Will bomb-sniffing drones be embraced? Will cities saturated with face recognition cameras offer solace? Will giving the FBI, DHS, and ATF more tools to fight crime prevent crime? In the end, the ultimate question is, are the numbers potentially saved from future carnage compatible with the numbers whose rights and liberties will be violated in the process? The story will now focus less on what happened and more about what will happen to our country. Will the terrorists win? Will the state? Or will its people? Capturing every corner of the alternative media, watch AMTV News Monday through Friday. Follow me on Twitter at AMTV News and like us on Facebook at Greenwave TV. Find my source material and more videos like these at amtvmedia.com and greenwave.com. Both are part of the AMTV network. You're watching AMTV News, the voice of independence.